Yeah, so this is a Q&A session.
When you're talking to a Don, please have respect like you're talking to your mom.
Unless you Mike Tyson.
Unless you like Tyson.
Burning through it.
4K cameras and,
Q&A with Kato. When we tore up.
This is a boat person watching this. Like, yo, what are y'all talking about?
We sent a whole bunch of content to our editor, and he was like, yeah, all this is trash. Perfect way to say it.
It was big enough. How about you? You know what I'm saying? What would you say is the biggest lesson you've learned? Or
go to, Mexico, blow a couple racks. Once we get to like 100,000 subscribers, it's going to be a little more difficult. I got a question for you, actually.
You know what I'm saying? Ain't looking good. We're going to have to resort to this. All right, new rules. What's going on? Mic check. We in the studio. It's your boy McKinley Hayes. I'm with Keril Sawyer. We just want to take a few minutes to talk to y'all today about the journey approaching video number what?
By the time y'all see this, it'll be like video number 15. Yeah, so this is a Q&A session.
Sometimes you gotta take a break from the stuff. We're just gonna shoot the a little bit, talk about some of the stuff we got going on. We like to hang out, we like to turn up. We're DC area guys, PG County, Maryland, DMV, for those of you know.
Henceforth, where I put the hat on.
There you go.
We always represent. Everybody wears drip from everywhere else.
You know what I'm saying? Check
me out. But I feel like
Natitude, baby, Nat gang, you know what I'm saying?
I feel like we gotta represent like where we from, like where we grew up.
It's 2 championships right here in the past 5 years, so please be respectful when you talk to me. When you're talking to a Don, please have respect like you're talking to your mom.
All right, so I got a couple questions that people have been asking. First one is, I got a question for you, actually.
What's good?
So now that we are over 10 videos in, what have you appreciated most about the growth of just starting a show, podcast, whatever you want to call it, right?
Like, I mean, quite frankly.
What's your biggest lesson over the past couple months of shooting and recording videos?
I mean, quite frankly, this has been educational for me too, right? I don't want to make it seem like I just come up here and, everything is always in my brain. I like to refresh. I like to look up information. We've had sessions where I walked away with action items from things you told me, right? Mm-hmm. And went home and did my own research or implemented it in my financial strategy. So there's the put your money where your mouth is aspect to it, where it's like, we've always been big on coaching, training, teaching, financial literacy, building businesses, starting businesses, tech career. For you, I know you have a whole sales career where you teach your coachees how to get better numbers, produce better output, or I'll let you tell the story of how you do that. My point is, we've always been in tune with trying to uplift and empower people, right? But this podcast has made me kind of look in the mirror and say, well, what are you doing about the advice that you just gave? Are you sharpening every axe that you have? Are you kind of keeping an eye on all the things that you're talking about? And I feel like I have a heightened sense of awareness for my own personal finances based on the things we talk about. So it's gratifying to me because outside of being able to share content and reach out to like-minded people and start to engage with them, taking a look at myself and what I have going on and getting re-excited about the goals that I already had, you know what I'm saying? So that's definitely been like the biggest part of the journey that I've enjoyed and something that's kind of resonated with me throughout episode after episode after episode. So how about you? You know what I'm saying? What would you say is the biggest lesson you've learned? Or, for those of you who don't know, this is Automated K. I'm looking around at smoke and lights and 4K cameras and, low pro mics. And this is all a product of the man right here. Is the man with the vision. So I got to give you your flowers. But, talk about that, right? Because I know you've been more technically in tune with, the takeoff, the editing, everything that we have that we're giving to the people.
So let's talk about just like what we've done so far with like the podcast. It's just that everything is like a learning process and you can't really skip that step.
Right.
Nobody could tell you, here's how you do a podcast. You can watch as many videos as you want. And I say podcasts in general, be like make videos or whatever you're passionate about.
Yeah.
You have to actually go through it because I remember a couple months ago when I was like, yo, come over. And I came over, like everything was broke. Things fell apart. Like,
everything looks cool, but one day we sat here for 5 hours and ain't record nothing. But you know what I'm saying? It's all good. We tried, but
We sent a whole bunch of content to our editor and he was like, yeah, all this is trash.
That ain't gonna work. And we was feeling good about it too.
I mean, we were like, we couldn't get anything to work, right? And then now, today it was actually funny because when we got in the studio, I was like, it seems like we don't have a lot of stuff to do to get started. I was like, we really got to press 2 buttons. We still miss some stuff, right? Like I didn't get the second camera working.
Yeah.
Usually I have some lights up here, if like the back thing or whatever, and you see, like if you see like a little mist or whatever, I'm trying to get the cinematic look. So we're testing some stuff out. Everything's coaching.
All right.
Everything's coaching and learning. What's 1 or 2 experiences you've had in the past 90 days that make all the stuff, all the effort, all the strive, everything that you do worth it? Like, why do all this stuff? To be financially free, to work, to grind, to save money, to trap, to make more money. Like what makes it, like what's something you looked at and was like, oh, this is why I do all this?
I'm gonna give you a twofold answer.
All right.
Because one is a feeling of servitude and gratitude, right? And what do I mean by that? It was a good moment for me.
Okay.
Just to kind of give you a real use case, real life example. We did an episode on NFTs. You may or may not have watched it. If not, go back and watch it. I think it's episode 5. I posted the same graphic on my Instagram from the NFT I bought from Vive. Mm-hmm. And it was nothing more than a 12-second like, hey, this NFT that I purchased like 6 months ago is 7X. I'm excited. And I got a bunch of replies like, bro, I've been trying to, wrap my head around this NFT thing and I keep hearing so much about it. Like, when you get some time, can we set up a call so like you can explain to me what it is? And I replied to each and every person, said, I'll do you one better. Here's the video. And then the other one, how do you make money off NFTs? And the response to that from just those 7 people got me like, oh, this is good because people really need this stuff. You know what I'm saying? I just think it's like a regular conversation I'm having with my friend, but those 7 people are now subscribers. Shout out to all 7 of y'all. That to me was that rewarding feeling of something that happened in the past 90 days that gave me like a sense of purpose. Because I obviously start small, right? And the goal is to grow the audience and reach more people. But that gave me a sense of like the work that we're doing here matters, it's important, and at the very bare minimum, we're educating people. All right, a more selfish what happened to me in the past 90 days would probably be in relation to work stuff, work talk. When I say we, I'm on a team of about 14 people, but I'm the tech lead of one particular technology, right? We had to wrap our heads around a complex technical problem, and we had to hit a deadline, and we kind of had to pitch to the client when we're going to do it, how we're going to do it, and what the plan is, and who's going to work on it, right? We have a happy path, which if you're in the software world, is like, this is the no error, everything goes perfect destination. And then the alternate path where, I'm saying, ain't looking good, we're going to have to resort to this. And we presented both. And the client kind of laid into us. I was a little bit like, basically preparing to deliver the bad news. Like, we're not going to get this done. And even if we can, we're not confident in our approach. But the last day before we had to do the presentation to tell them the 2 paths, which in my mind, the alternate path was going to be the one we had to tell them. We had a technological breakthrough where we figured we could leverage another tool, ran some test cases on it and said, boom, we've already proved it out. Monday when we talk to them, we're going to tell them we're going to do this. And that's what we did. And that's more like, it's work, it's my job, everybody has stuff like that. But it ties into this podcast because I feel like we had to be like resilient in our approach. Our mindset had to be like solution oriented and like, how do we get a path to get to this faster? So it's like, we're talking about how do I get to 1 million faster, 3 million, 10 million, 15 million? In this case, we're talking software. Like, how do we deliver this faster? Because there's some people who don't care about the tech. They don't care about the back end. They're like, I need this by April. Get it done. You're a contractor, right? Because I'm a contractor. But for me, it was more like, all right, in the past 90 days, we were presented a complex technical problem. We huddled on it. We all had like a get it done mindset. And then 2 days before we were supposed to deliver the plan, we had our breakthrough. And now we're living in that breakthrough. And I feel like we're crushing it and we're crushing everything that we said we're going to deliver. So for me, it's just a work example of something that I went through in the past 90 days, but I remember the mindset because I'm like talking on team calls and I feel like I'm like, hyping them up like a Varsity Blues head coach and being like, come on guys, we can do it. Even if we don't know how we're going to do it, we're going to do it. And I was kind of taking like the mindset that you and I talk about. Cause like, how like sometimes we'll be talking and we'll be having a up day.
Yeah,
right?
It happens.
Like your client or your whoever is just killing you. And then Keril called me at 4:30 and I pick up the phone, sounded dejected. He's like, let's go. We shooting tonight. This happened. And it just lifts my whole spirit. And I feel like that carried over into one of the meetings I had. Me and you had just got off the phone. So I went from feeling all defeated and dejected to being like, oh, nah, we going to get this done. And then we had our breakthrough. So I don't know if there's a correlation, but I feel like the mindset, the attacker mindset, the happiness, the like fulfillment came from like outside source, i.e. you, our relationship in this podcast. And then it translated into success in a work environment. And that's why you kind of got to stay sharp and stay on your toes and stay around people that are going to keep you motivated, excited, and things like that. So that's just something that happened that I felt like would fit what we're talking about now.
Yeah, I like that. Thanks for sharing.
No doubt, man. How about you? So we're going to throw it right back at you. Give it to me. Past 90 days, something that a personal changer for you, a game change agent, something that, due to the podcast, you feel like happened in your personal life. Doesn't have to be work like mine.
The first thing that comes to mind is my best friend had his 40th.
Okay.
And Cabo. So we went to Cabo and when we tore up. So we went to Cabo, we had a blast, man. We rented like a yacht. You know, I never know whether to call it a yacht or a boat. Like, I don't know what size translates.
No, there's an official number that makes it yacht.
Makes it, you know what I'm saying?
This is a boat person watching this. That's like, yo, what are y'all talking about? There's an official number that it goes from boat to yacht. Yo, I don't know how many feet it is.
Look that up.
Yeah. I think it's 80 or 40. I don't know. It's a number.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we gotta look that up. So I guess I call it a boat, but
no, it was a yacht.
Okay, it was a yacht.
It wasn't a big yacht. It was a big enough. But we gotta get the big jump. But no, it was a good time. I was there, so I can chime in on this. But go ahead.
It was just being able to, spend that quality time. Like we got couple rooms.
For sure.
Took him to dinner at Nobu and another restaurant. I think Acre was super cool. It was just quality time with friends with no other worries like in the world. Like that was just super dope. I was like, oh, like this is why if money is a tool, right? Then like being philosophical about it. It's like, oh, like I wouldn't want to do all this stuff at 60 when I retire. I want to have fun now. I want to go to, Mexico, blow a couple racks, eat great dinners, pop champagne, spend my day at the pool. Did all of that. Right? And then see the smile on Doty's face.
For sure.
And then, of course, like, him being a he is, he's like, oh, can you get a bigger boat? Like, listen, guy.
Yeah, he did hit us with that.
But that was just special to me. That tied into a lot of the stuff that we learned from like Jim Rome, which was like not only to have one area of life, but have all the pillars like, functioning or whatever, right? Like,
because I ain't gonna lie, and I'm sorry to cut you off. I came back from that trip thinking we need to run it up so we can do this more often and not check our accounts when we get back. Right?
Yeah.
Like it should be something that, all of our investments and all the payouts we get should be able to do this and we still rise and do more. That's the lifestyle we want to create, right?
Yeah, so whatever that looks like, using money as a tool to create experiences and make sure that you and your family and go. So like that just stands out to me. I just saw a smile on his face and how happy he was when he walked in the room and just the pride and all that stuff. Like he had a blast. I mean, we all had a blast. Cabo's fun, and I don't know, like I never know whether I'm being like condescending. You know what I'm saying? Like how you like Dave Ramsey and them, you be like, I never know.
Yeah, like all right, everybody can't just go get a yacht in Cabo.
But if not Cabo, the experience, because before Cabo, who was in Puerto Rico, we're local and whatever else. So I think it's less about that and it's more about having the financial freedom or having a financial structure, not to be totally free yet, to have experiences and have a good time, to be able to do cool things. And I was like, oh, like all the hard work and everything we put together, this is the culmination of that. This is where I want to spend my time. This is what makes me happy, seeing those around me happy. And so like it was super dope, man. Cabo was an awesome trip. Rejuvenated, loved where we stayed.
Oh man, 7 stars, baby.
Like what was it?
I ain't never stayed in a hotel that night. I ain't gonna lie. I had some nice experiences in some great places, but something was very enthralling about that property and what we had on that property. And you did that because I want to feel like, you know what I'm saying? Because I was trying to be like, yo, for that money we could do this, and Kay was like, nah, you know what I'm saying? And when my mind was blown as soon as we walked on the property. So yeah, and you made it, you made it do what it do. Man, shouts to the curator, man. You did that.
Love it. All right, last question for this Q&A. Omar and I were in, I think I was in Austin. I was at F1. Well, Omar.
I remember that.
One of the questions he was asking me, he was like, yo, Kay, like, how much you think you really need for like retirement? And then, you know how I always nuance everything. What I would say,
if you're like old girl from video too, you need 660. Remember that?
Right, yeah. I mean, but maybe, you know what I'm saying, like that works for her. Yeah. That's a scary number for a couple of reasons, right? And so the more financially astute I get, the more I'm like, oh, well, what about inflation? Because if you look at inflation in Turkey, it's like real crazy. Or Argentina, I think of 2008 crisis or a previous crisis where they couldn't give their money out of the bank account. It's insane, right? And so when you start factoring all that stuff in to give somebody advice, you'd be bruh, I don't know.
It's a lot,
But what I would say is know like your numbers and your lifestyle and what you're trying to accomplish. Like I say, like my next goal is 3. And then 5 is I would consider myself like lucky to get the 5, and I will. And then after that is just like I mean that's what I call like philanthropy and like balling out money, like after 5. But I would say 3. Yeah, so the context is
You gotta tell them the number.
Yeah, so 3 million. Okay. But the reason why I said that specifically to Omar is because people in tech tend to make high six figures.
Right. And Omar works for Amazon.
And Omar works
and
for
makes a great salary.
And Omar works for Amazon. And that's why I said that specific number. And I'm very cognizant that 3 million is not like a realistic goal for everybody.
Right.
But what is a realistic goal is planning out how much your expenses are now, and then what it would take to really like retire. So start playing around with like investment and retirement calculators and stuff like that. Because I think like it's key to always model that stuff out. Like you gotta like write goals down. I still write down. I still do yearly goals. I still add numbers. So when I'm throwing numbers out, I'm not just throwing out a random number. It's like the next goal. Could I tell you, 50 million, like all this stuff, all those other numbers about wealth or large numbers like, I'll make 10 million, it's like high, or Ethereum to the moon, then you still got to break stuff down into like manageable steps. And so that's the next manageable step that I can see. I'm like, okay, if my investments do 10% over X amount of years, plus if this podcast does X, plus if my coaching business does X, then that's 3 million in the next 4 years, right? It can happen sooner if these things take place. It can happen later. That's why I like the goals important. So I throw a number out there because most people, they want to shy away from the number, but you got to have something you're aiming for. I've seen some of my other friends' numbers and they're larger, but the number doesn't matter, but having a number matters. Having an economic plan matters. And so...
So like to that point, one thing I used to tell people when they'd be like, when are you going to retire? And I'd be like, retirement is not based on an age. It's a number to me. I mean, honestly, you make a certain amount of money or you get a certain amount of money through whatever means, entrepreneurship. I mean, I think that determines a retirement time before a number, before an age, I'm sorry.
Yeah, agreed. I mean? And then it's so nuanced because what is retirement? To me, like retirement is what people do when they don't like what they're doing.
Right. Right.
And then from what I've read online...
You never truly retire if you love what you're doing.
Exactly. Gotcha. And then I think like most old people, don't quote me on this, maybe there's something out there, but most old people, when they stop working and stop, doing active stuff, they tend to die sooner. I think I've read that somewhere.
Yeah.
But my whole point is...
I heard something like that before too.
Like when we say retirement, it's not retirement as in quit your job, quit everything you're doing. It's the number where you got you money, where something happened tomorrow, you still can go travel, you still got your monthly income, you could quickly flip some of your index funds or some of the stuff that you're getting dividends off of and live off of that, or live off of your business, or live off of your podcast revenue and something like that. So it's like when you don't need anything anymore, to me that's what I call retirement. But you could run your own business and do a whole bunch of other stuff. Like it's just like a term. I don't think it's the appropriate term, like in the formal sense of I'm gonna retire and go live in
I think Florida. Freedom is a better way to say it.
When are you going to be financially free, or what's your financially free number plan? And then when you get there,
choosing to work or choosing to do whatever
perfectly
is different.
Put. What's the number that you can choose to or not to work and still be able to maintain everything? Because perfect way to say it. Because even with like fire and stuff like that, right? Like all these things, like you talked about the one video we reacted to with the lady where she made like 660. What if inflation jumps to what it is in Turkey, to 17%?
Yeah, that's wild.
What if you happen to live in Turkey?
Yeah.
What if you're in Argentina when the government didn't let you get any of your money out your bank account when the peso or whatever the dollar denomination was going down? Different happens, and so there isn't like an end goal. It's like you're planning for that number with a contingency plan that even when I get there, I'm gonna still make sure I got more cushion and are able to do all these things. And if I have the skill set to work and still live a fulfilled life and hang out and have a good time,
it's
then
like
I can still do that.
I mean, everybody has to have a plan, man. It's like
gotta have a plan.
You gotta look at your situation, your numbers. How much do you need to live per month after this date that you decide you're not gonna work or walk away from your business or live off, passive income, whatever the case may be. As long as there's a plan in place, I feel like, the answer is going to be different for different people. To your point, people in our circle where we kind of know their situation, we know what industry they're in, we know how much they're working, and we kind of have a better idea because it's more aligned with like the way we think. It's easier, not easy, but easier for you to give Omar a reply based on what you know versus like blanket advice. But I think that's what you were saying at first. Like it's so hard to just be like, 5 mil, 10 mil, 1 mil, 3 mil, because
500,000, 700,000.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It depends on what the person's needs are in their life and their lifestyle and what they want to create and how much they need to be comfortable. How many family members do you have? Are you taking care of a family member? Do you have a spouse? Do you have kids? Do you have multiple kids? Is their college fund set up, right? So there's so much nuance. It's really hard to say. And I think the best answer is to have a plan for you and your situation and your family.
What about you? How do you think about it?
We're not too far off from my answer too, because You could tell just from looking at us. We want a lot of money. Right? We don't want the bare minimum.
All right.
We don't want just enough to live and say, okay, our bills are paid and we can lie and our life's fulfilled. Like, we kind of want abundance.
A full life. Yeah. Like a full, I mean, I think we're living a full life now.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that we're blessed. I'm just cognizant, and I throw the nuance in there because I don't want those who don't work for Amazon or Google, work in tech, or make less. I don't want them to think that this goes unreachable or get discouraged with it. Right. That's why even in some of the videos that you'll watch, I throw out examples of like
my retired teachers with multi-millions income because they were just smart with
right,
income,
exactly.
You know so I'm talking about income
many
investing teachers who found a way to keep their expenses extremely low, put away their income in the right financial instruments, perform over time.
The number you really need to say you to anybody else to where if something happened, you could still live your lifestyle and be able to handle things going wrong. Like example of things going wrong. Now you're reading a lot of the financial magazines that they're like, oh, like we used to say like you could spend 4% of your retirement, but that's not a real number no more because of inflation and everything else. So imagine if you specifically did that calculation of retirement based on
that number. You're screwed, right?
You're
one economic disaster or one catastrophic year. I mean, look at Corona. Look at 2008 real estate crash. Look at whatever's forthcoming with, fallout from inflation right now, which is at a record high.
Look what's happening in Turkey. Look at what has happened in other countries where inflation has gone crazy. And that doesn't, I'm not including a medical thing happening to you or any of that. And so the answer to that is not what number do you need for retirement. Like my answer or what I would respond with now is my next goal is 3 million and I'll assess as I get there. However, I don't plan on retiring, but that is where I'll feel psychologically comfortable. And then anything past that is like, to me, is like real wealth. But the lesson I would take for somebody else is that shouldn't be your number, whether you make more or less, right? It's not like a number thing. It's like you need to have an economic plan based on your specific situation with a hedge in case some things go wrong, like inflation, like a family member getting ill or something like that.
Yeah, no, to your point, I think it's extremely nuanced because everybody's situation is going to be different, right? Like what industry are you in? At what rate are you saving and investing? Do you have family? Do you have children? Have you put away for their college funds yet? Do you got to pay for your daughter's wedding if you have one? You don't have to, but culturally, that's what we do. So to associate it with a number as opposed to a plan is not really the best idea, I think is what you're getting at. Like each person's got to have a plan based on the amount of money you need after you decide to stop working to live and maintain that lifestyle. Yeah,
the way I would rephrase that is you can't set your goals up on somebody else's plan because Mac and Keril like to do different things. Like we like boats or yachts or whatever. We like hanging out. We like eating at nice restaurants. All that costs more than someone who has a fire, like the retirement movement where they're like, nah, I'm gonna save 90% of everything I earn and I'm gonna retire and I'm gonna live in a very small house. Not judging it, like it's not good or bad. It's like
it's
everybody.
Based on what you want.
Yeah, it's based on your psychological profile. Right. Sure. The same thing with investing. Investing may not be for everybody, right? It's a way to get wealthy, but maybe, like there are other paths that you could do, right? Like it's like the people who listen to this podcast, they're getting our perspective and our take on things, right? But with that said, you take that information and you need to come up with your own take and your own perspective and your own retirement plan and your own economic plan for you. Right? Yeah. Whether you're making 50 grand, whether you're making 100, whether you're making $1 million a year. And then if you're making more than that, then you don't need no more help.
You're on your way, hopefully. Unless you Mike Tyson it. Unless you like Tyson
burning through it, right?
Yeah.
So that's it, guys. We just wanted to do a Q&A. I feel like when we're giving you content and stuff like that, it's like we're just sharing things we've learned or things that we have and assets and all that stuff. These are the people behind like the actual like podcast information. We're human. We don't got everything figured out. So we're not gonna be those gurus that are like, oh, here's how you like, bro, like here's what I'm doing. We're gonna make
mistakes. We're gonna say something in here that contradicts maybe something we said earlier. Make a play that ends up not being the best play, but at least we're gonna be transparent and open. But I think, like Michael Jordan said, sometimes you got to fail 10,000 times before you are successful. So I'm okay with that. I think the things we've been through have molded us to be prepared for that.
I'm super down for it.
Yeah, for real. But yeah, if you like content like this, I say definitely subscribe, hit us up in the comments. Let us know what you want to see us talk about more in Q&A.
And what questions should we ask them? Well, what's your retirement number? How about that?
Yeah, what is yours,
let's
right?
Let's have a conversation with the community.
Yeah, let us know.
How do you view retirement and what's your retirement number? Maybe that's 2 questions. I like to ask multiple questions, but how do you think about it? Like, share that below. We'll definitely check the comments. We'll read them. And we'll respond. You might as well do it now, like while we under 1,000 subscribers. Because once we get to like 100,000 subscribers, it's gonna be a little more difficult. But that's it.
Yeah, no doubt. New Rules Podcast. We out.
Tune in.